Hello? Hello, everybody. Welcome to day 2. You guys made it. So this is Intro to PHP. So let me get the pointer here. Okay. Disclaimer. I am not the architect of XM Cloud, so I started it off with a big old lie right in the beginning. Let's just get this out of the way. There's many architects on XM Cloud, and I'll go through kind of what that means. I was scrolling TikTok last night, and I came across this post about this email that Steve Jobs emailed to himself right before he died. I'm not comparing myself to Steve Jobs in any way, but let me just read it. I know you guys can read, but I'll read it anyway. I grow little of the food I eat, and of the little I do grow, I do not breed or perfect the seeds. I do not make any of my own clothing. I speak a language I did not invent or refine. I did not discover the mathematics I use. I am protected by freedoms and laws I did not conceive of or legislate, and do not enforce or adjudicate. I am moved by music I did not create myself. When I needed medical attention, I was helpless to help myself survive. I did not invent the transistor, the microprocessor, object-oriented programming, or most of the technology I work with. I love and admire my species, living and dead, and I'm totally dependent on them for my life and well-being. Sent from my iPad. What is he saying here? He's saying that everything that he did was because of all the people that came before him. And that's basically what I'm saying here. Like, I'm not the architect. There's so many people, so much happened well before I even got here. And I'm very, very grateful to be working here at Sitecore. Here's a QR code for a poll I want to take. I want to get some questions from you all. What do you most want to see in XM Cloud? Because Sheetal asked me in the audience yesterday, we're constantly releasing, right? So multiple times a day, multiple products a day. So we want to make sure we're releasing the right things. And then there's a section in there for audience Q&A. So I can bring it up later. So what are we going to talk about here? Well, this is the intro, so we got that down. That's good. I'm going to talk a little bit about some history. What is XM Cloud? Successes that people are having on XM Cloud already. How you guys can succeed. And then we'll do a Q&A. I thought about asking you guys, should we scrap the whole thing and just do a full Q&A session? But I don't think I want to brave that, a full 45 minutes of questions. So we'll just leave it right for the end. So who am I? I am Andy Cohen. I'm the principal architect of content, the content pillar at Sitecore. Let's see. I've worked at various partners since 2013, including Horizontal, Avanade, and Proficient. Anybody from those companies here today? Horizontal? Not that many. Okay, they were partying last night, I guess. Yeah. Avanade? All right. Proficient? Any folks? All right, cool. All right. So I personally started in 2013, like I said, on Sitecore 6.6. So that being said, I want to jump over into a little game. I want everybody to stand up right now. Stand up, everybody. Up! Everybody up. Okay. So the game is this. The game is when you have not worked on this version of Sitecore, you are to sit down. Okay? And I mean, when I say Sitecore, XM, XP, whatever. Okay. 10-3. All right. 1 dropping out. 2, 3. Okay. 10-2, November 2021. 10.1. All right. 10.0. You guys, feel free to look around too to see how many people. 9.3. 9.2. All right, people are going up and down at this point. 9.0. Okay, more up and down. 8.2. All right, 8.1. This is like a yo-yo. It's like, all right. 8.0. I want to see people drop off here. 7. Who really worked on 7.5? Come on. 7.5 was like a fake version. It was released in 2014 in, let's see, let me go back at one. 8.0 was released in December 2014. Yeah, that was not a real version. Okay. 7.2. All right. 7.1. Okay, all right, this is more real now. 7.0. All right, yeah. Just curious, if you're not a SUGCON employee, sit down real quick. Or if you are a SUGCON employee, sorry. All right, you guys can stand back up, come on. All right. 6.6, this is me. All right, I'm gonna sit down next, okay, all right. Here we go, 6.5. All right, wow, that's impressive. 6.4, 6.3, 6.2, all the way back to 2009. Okay, 3 SUGCON. Okay, yeah. All right, who's gonna win here? 6.1, 6.0. Wow, how old are you guys? 5.3. All right. Wow, I had no idea. 5.2. Sir, are you? No, you're staff. Okay, sorry. All right. 5.1. Okay. Wow. All right. So we got 2 SUGCON employees. Who's going to win here? Oh, whoops! I messed that one up. 5.1, 5.1. I guess that one of them's 5.0. I just didn't update it. So, you guys are both 5.0. 4.3. Wow, that's the end. That's all I got. All right, good job. So, that was according to that was the SiteCore version history chart. I think it goes back farther. I mean, there had to have been a 1.0, right? So how far back do you go? 4.3. Okay. Wow, impressive. Cool. So if you guys have any SiteCore questions, direct them to Rob. Yep. All right. So I joined SiteCore in 2019 as a solution architect for sales engineering. I was a sales engineer for about 6 months, and then Tom DeRitter asked me to come over to work on Edge, and I'll go through that a little bit later. So I started working on Edge, and then I moved into XM Cloud Deploy, and today I work across all of content, and my job, I guess the way I describe my job is I listen to product, and what do I do? You know, it's hard to say. I basically try to work and develop relationships with products so that engineering can bring the stuff that they want to life, right? That's really what I think my job is. And I'm focusing on vNext. Where is XM Cloud going? So it's exciting stuff. It's really, really exciting. We have a large push for improving developer experience and productivity with our tooling and our UIs and all kinds of stuff. I wish I could share more about that. I'm not going to. You're going to hear me say this. It's coming. It's coming. It's coming. It's coming. We're trying to make the XM Cloud experience tighter. Some brief history. So here's the timeline. I joined SiteCore started working on Edge. Idea to publish XM to Edge came about because Edge was originally built for Content Hub, and somebody got the idea to, well, let's publish to XM, or take XM and publish to Edge too. And that started the Edge Connector POC right before the end of 21. Then we did the XM Cloud POC. And I mean, that was 2 years ago, right? That was March 2023. I think we got the idea for it, and we started it, I think, in July. We started development. We got the first developers. I think we did the first commits. It was August, and then we got a team in September of 2021, and we previewed this at SUGCON in Budapest in March. So it's been a year and a half now since we showed this thing. That is not very much time. And we went GA in, what was it? It was like July. It was basically a year ago. That's nothing. Here is, I was digging through my emails, and I actually found a Teams recording of this stuff. But if you look, Nick Wesselman was the PM. Bart Plasmeyer, he was the platform engineering person. I was on it. Charlie Toronto of TDS fame. Jeffrey Isle, Order Cloud guy. And then Ian Webster. Ian Webster was the original architect on XM Cloud. He moved over to working on some other stuff. So here was our original backlog for our POC. I'm not gonna, well, I guess let's look at that. Yeah, it's really, really interesting. We don't normally use like a Kanban board, but for POCs, why not? We're trying something new. So here's the screenshot of the Teams meeting that we had to talk about what we did in the POC. We had, I don't know, you can see 6 plus 5 more people, 11, I don't know, 20 people were on that call to review it. The goal, enable a developer, actually I'll go into that a little bit later, but what we were trying to do with XM Cloud at the time was take this, you guys have all seen the slide that looks like this, all of these pieces of XP and make it easier for you guys, right? This was actually on the whiteboard downstairs in the horizontal office in Minnetonka, Minnesota, right outside in between my door and Justin Vought's door, of an architecture that I was so proud of. So proud. All the servers, I was so excited. Is Sheetal here? Sheetal is not here. But yeah, he helped me work on this, and I was so proud of it. But it was about taking this giant infrastructure and layering on our new things that we had from our acquisition. So you can see, I don't know if you guys can read this, but this is CDP. These are all the pieces that CDP replaces, all the analytics stuff and tracking. Experience Edge and our shared platform stuff fills in some more of the pieces. And then what is left is the content management server and basically the state or the database is there. And that's what we were focusing on for what XM Cloud was going to be. Coming back here, enable a developer to select a templated GitHub repository with a pre-configured build and use it to deploy a realistic production XM authoring environment with an associated Experience Edge tenant in less than 5 minutes. The demo that we did at SUGCON was, I think, 5 minutes and 5 seconds. No, it was just over the line. Allow the developer to work against the same authoring environment locally, check in code changes, and see them deployed in less than 2 minutes. So that's GitOps, right? That is infrastructure as code. That's all XM Cloud was in the beginning. It was deploy. Let's get these deployed out there. But it's so much more today. We wanted to take this and turn it into a black box with a ribbon on it, basically, is what we wanted to give you. A nice little present. It took all this time to create all this infrastructure, and we're going to distill it down in this easy-to-use thing with the bow on top. What made all this possible was all the advances in container development, headless SDKs, static site generation Jamstack, Experience Edge, And then our acquisitions, of course. And all of these things pave the way for XM Cloud. So what is it, though? What is it? Peter had this amazing demo of a lot of the different pieces that was fantastic. So here's the whole portfolio: private cloud, experience manager, managed cloud, experience platform, and then this is the public cloud. This is our parts of XM Cloud. So we have deploy, portal, pages, edge, dashboard, or sites, the base image itself. Should have turned that off. Let's see. Platform system, our identity, components, Explorer. All of these things are XM Cloud. So here's the marketing slide that I took. Why XM Cloud? You guys can read. It's awesome. That's what that says. But we tried to make things easier for you and increase your productivity and ultimately make you all happier, make your customers happier. That's what we're trying to do. But what I really came here to talk about today is how you all can be successful, right? What are some real things you can do to be successful on XM Cloud? I'm not going to really go too deep. So if you wanted me to go deep, I'm sorry. You guys can leave now. If you're disappointed, I would not take it personally. That's totally fine. But I'm gonna be kind of high level here. I do want to say that customers are being successful on XM Cloud. This is a slide from Avanade, I think it was a Paris user group. I don't remember which one, but it was a user group that they presented where they, with their project, I can't say the customer, but with their customer, they got 8 times the content productivity. That's huge, right? With XM Cloud, things were easier. It was faster. Get content in there quicker, develop faster, release quicker, all of those things. Right now, we have about 10 customers live. Many are about to launch, including some of you in this audience. I know you, and I'm not going to single you out, but there are launches about to happen. We have about 100 customers currently on XM Cloud. We expect about 500 by this time next year, and we do about 800 deployments per day at this point. So it's quite large. And when we roll out our updates to the authoring environments, I mean, it's amazing how many updates we can do at once. I think it was like 900 all rolling out in the background all throughout the day. So it's scaling, and it's scaling well. So this is the meat. This is what I wanted to talk about. What you should not do and what you should do. Okay, so I monitor the tickets that come in. I see what people are doing, where people are getting tripped up. I think our tickets are about 50-50. What are they called? Priority information requests, PIR tickets, where people are just asking questions. So I'm here to answer some of those questions, and I want to help you all avoid some of the problems that I'm seeing, and just do general best practices. And some of this is going to seem really basic. I'm not trying to be condescending. I'm just trying to be honest and helpful. So lots of things you should do also. So let's just jump right in then. Okay. Let me just pause just for a second. Are there any quick questions? No. All right. So first one. Now this is going to shock some people, I think. Don't customize the authoring server. That's weird, right? We give you the ability to check in code and build it, but we don't want you to customize it. That's kind of controversial, right? We're all back-end developers, or a lot of us. Who's a back-end developer here in the audience? Yeah, classic back-end. Don't customize the CM server. I think Sheetal said it yesterday. What was the phrase that he said? He said something about being left behind. Don't think of yourselves as back-end developers, right? You're developers. We have to adapt. So many things are changing. ChatGPT. And by the way, I don't think that our jobs are going to get taken. ChatGPT is not smart enough yet. I'm not going to go into that. But yeah, don't customize the authoring server. Just don't do it. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. All right? Who said that? Any successful developer ever. Okay? Seriously, just because you can doesn't mean you should. Let me go back a little bit. Why though? If you're making all of those customizations, you're going to have to keep porting it forward, right? It's going to make it harder for yourself if you keep customizing stuff. That's my basic opinion on this. All right, so what should you do? Focus on the head, the front end app. Learn TypeScript. Learn React.js. Seriously, it's not that hard. TypeScript is very similar to C#. There's some diehards out there who just completely hate it. I got Charlie Toronto, who is I call him the author of TDS, but he's started using TypeScript just recently. But I had to twist his arm. But check it out. It's not as bad as you might think. And it is Node. That's a server-side technology. You could technically, if you want to call yourself a back-end person, you could still be doing Node development on the back end. All right, next one. Don't make your front-end developers run a container. They don't want to do it. Maybe some do, but most of them don't. So don't make them check out your code and run the content management container locally. Just don't do it. So what should you do instead? Have their local rendering host pointed at the cloud or pointed at Edge. I think one of the SUGCON events sites runs, like you guys do development in Edge mode, is that right, Rob? Yeah, which one? All of them? All of them. So yeah, they just run pointed at the edge all the time when they're doing local development. That will present challenges because it's effectively like a shared database model. But for the front end at least, they can get away with that. Use your cloud content management server. Here's another thing to do. You can run your local rendering host with Pages. You can run your Pages app. Who's used Pages? Not that many people? Okay, all right. Well, let me show you something then. All right, so let me just show you what Pages is, first of all. I did not prepare my demo, I just realized that. Log in. Sorry about this. Okay, so this is Pages. It looks a lot like Horizon, if you guys have seen Horizon. This is where you access your components, your content, your templates, page templates, personalize and analyze. But you can run this Pages app with this front end. This is the front end in the middle. This is running a rendering host. You can run this against your local. And that's what I'm just going to quickly show you that, right? And if you don't know what a rendering host is, who knows what a rendering host is? Okay, that's better. All right, so we have, when we do git ops, right, we clone a template for you, and it has the front end code in it. And here's the front end code: the source, starter kit. I'm going to delete this instance, so any secrets you see here right after this, I'm just going to delete it. But your front-end devs, they can do local development directly against the cloud content management server. They can change this URL to point to the Edge preview endpoint on the CM and just do development there. They can disable static site generation. They can turn on some debugging, whatever. One of the things you need to do, though, in order to do this local development, you need that editing secret. I don't know if you guys know how it works, but normally when you're running your rendering host in normal mode, not in Pages or anything, it's the rendering host that makes a request out to Edge or the content management server. When you're running it in Pages or even Experience Editor, it does something different. It hits the rendering host API. It's on the CM, or I'm sorry, on the rendering host. What happens is a request comes into the page in Experience Editor or Pages, and Pages hits the layout service and then takes that layout, combines it with all the editing controls on the page, and then posts that to the rendering endpoint on the editing host. So you technically, it's instead of going from the rendering host out, it's the Pages app going in and talking to the rendering host. So we have this new thing that is the tunneling plugin to help you out with this. So you install the tunneling plugin, and all it is it's a proxy, right? It uses ngrok under the hood. Lots of front-end developers are familiar with this, but it uses ngrok, and let's see, So I'm going to log in real quick. I'm not sure I logged into the right one. Let's do that again. There we go. Okay, so I'm logged in, and then you would connect to your environment. I don't know if you guys have seen this CLI. You'd run .NET Sitecore Cloud Environment Connect. You'd connect to a specific instance. The one that I'm going to connect to here is it's the one that you guys saw. And what that does when you connect to it, it updates your user JSON file and it adds an endpoint. So I'm going to connect to this one. And after you connect, I'm not going to run that, you do .NET Sitecore tunnel create -n dev site SUGCON. It's the SUGCON site that I previously created. -t is trace, and then port 3000. That's going to create a local tunnel of my, it's going to give me a public URL, and it's going to go down to my local. That's effectively what it does. The tunneling plugin itself, I think we had it on the changelog recently, but you'd install the tunneling plugin here, And once you do that, it's going to launch ngrok. And these are all the things that it's doing. Starting the tunnel. And then it's going to create a rendering host item for you. So if I go back into the content tree, what this did behind the scenes is it created a rendering host entry. It's one of these two. So this is 954F. So it was this one. So it created this rendering host entry. And then it switched the site to point at that rendering host entry. And if I tried to run this now, it wouldn't actually work. And is this the right one? Let's see. It was this one, EC. Looks like there's a bug maybe in that, because I had multiple. Okay, so if I ran this right now in Pages, it would try to go to that tunnel, but I haven't actually launched my local rendering host yet. So let's go do that. So let's go into the starter kit. I may be in that directory already. No, all right. Okay, so then if I did npm run start connected, that's going to launch my local rendering host. Okay, so I could just go to localhost 3000 at this point and launch it just on my local. Or I could go to Pages, and Pages will also effectively be pointing at my local. So your front-end developer, the point is your front-end developers can do the same thing. They won't have to go into the content editor or do that stuff, but you can have them run a few commands and then get connected to the local. If I did this right. I don't need to go through it. Let's see if it made the request. Yeah, this one. Anyways, I've wasted enough time on this at this point. So let's go back to the presentation. All right, so use local front end with Pages. Next one, don't reference home and navigation. Let me say this a different way. Be careful where you have your data sources. So recently we had a customer who found that their publishing took a really, really long time. And upon investigation, we found that they had a data, and the person I think may be in the audience, so I'm sorry if I'm getting the details wrong, and I'm not trying to single you out. But they had a data source that was referencing the home item, because the home item had some metadata on it. Imagine you had your home item and you stored information about your site, that one site, like you had a phone number or something, and you had a field for phone number on your home item. So they had a data source to a component data source, went to that home item to basically pull that phone number out. And then they added that component into their page template, and that appears on every single page. Okay, so you are referencing your home item now on every single page. So anytime you publish, it's going to publish every single page because of the way that Edge works, the way that Edge publishing works, it does dependent item publishing. And the reason is this. At publish time, it takes a snapshot, effectively, of the layout. Okay? It gets that layout JSON, and it pushes it to Edge. So if you make a change on a component, we need to calculate where does this component exist. And therein lies the problem. So just be careful with your content architecture, right? Just be conscious of these kinds of things. I've seen a few customers have issues like this. There's also a setting in, now this one kind of blew my mind. I didn't even know it existed. But here on the renderings, I may not be able to find it because I've never actually used this. Let's see. The person who we helped figure this out may direct me to the right place if they want to identify themselves. Where is it? Hold it. Content settings. On the top. Content dependencies, yes. So this controls how things are published, this little weird dialogue thing. I don't know, was this documented anywhere? Yep. Okay, so it is documented what this does, but this controls how some things are published. Anyways, that's something to know about. We are trying to make things so that you don't have to go into the content editor to do lots of things. Don't create synchronization jobs that pull in content from external sources. That's weird, right? When I started out in Sitecore, I was amazed at how much Sitecore could do. I can create pipelines and override whatever I wanted. I can create custom fields in the content editor. I can this is a common thing that I did. Many customers, they use PR Newswire. And as press releases come out, they want those press releases not to show up only on PR Newswire, but they wanted them to show up on their website too. So they wanted them to synchronize in automatically, and so we created items in Sitecore. And I've created countless items in Sitecore from external sources. It was Sheetal who said yesterday, I think it was Sheetal, somebody said it, if you find yourself duplicating content, you may be doing something wrong. And that's really what this applies, right? There's no reason why your head, your front end, because it supports server-side today, there's no reason why you can't integrate on that side. Or there's no reason why you can't use something like Sitecore Connect or whatever iPaaS tool that you want, right? So don't pull items in. Integrate with them out on the edge or out in your front end. The back end of the front end. All right. Don't author your content in dev. Don't do it. Your content authors, your marketers, and now this is the part where I'm not trying to be condescending, but I do see it where people author their content in dev. Don't do it. If you want to be successful, don't do it. Author your content in prod. Use serialization tools. Use for XM Cloud, you're going to want to use the Sitecore content serialization module, SCS, as it's referred to. The starter kit has all of those plugins installed. You just got to do .NET Tool Restore. Once you start the containers, all that stuff is installed for you. But use the serialization tools. There's lots of guidance and documentation around these things. Do author content in production. I mentioned that. Don't overlook the complexity of multi-language. Think about what you want to do with your multi-language. Think about your URL structure. Think about, do you want like your language in your URL? Do you want to have domain-specific language sites, versions of sites? And then also how do you add a language? So this kind of blew my mind. I didn't know about this for quite a while, but after you add a language here, and now also XM Cloud supports custom cultures, so you can add a language and choose whatever culture code you want. But after you've done that, on your SXA site, you're going to want to right-click it, go to scripts, and add your site language. You're going to want to do that. It'll make your life a lot easier. It's going to create a language version in all of the items for the language that you choose, so all the fallback stuff properly works. So do that. I'm very opinionated on this one. This is like a developer workflow thing. Don't use git flow. Don't tie your branches to environments. That will encourage having different code in different places. You want to have the same code flowing up from dev all the way to prod. You want to promote your code. Deploy supports both ways of doing this. You can link a branch, and by default, we will link main. We'll create a repository for you in GitHub and link it to main. And then you can promote that to other environments. You can create an empty environment and then promote it. That means you're going to have the same binaries in every single environment. Not a different branch that might have different code using git flow, but using trunk-based development, code promotion. Do that. Don't add workflow at the very end. It's not an afterthought. You should set this up in the very beginning. There are default workflows that we set up for you in XM Cloud. It's there. So often I see people run into problems when they're not using workflow. Another thing that happens with XM Cloud, you guys are all admins, right? And to use deploy by default, you're an admin, and usually as a developer, you're going to be an admin. You're using the deploy tool. So that means that you actually should be creating users in Sitecore, mapping them to accounts in our cloud portal, and using different roles that allow you to use workflow, right? You're going to want to do that. I've taken a lot of time here. I'm running out of time. I can see that, so I'm going to kind of fast forward. But yeah, do architect workflow from the start. Do plan a sprint zero. Plan for your DevOps stuff. A lot of people don't use the GitHub integration with deploy today because we don't have Azure DevOps support. We will very, very soon, I'll say that. But lots of people have custom pipelines that use GitHub or GitHub Enterprise or whatever. What are they called? GitHub Actions. There's examples of using those on the XM Cloud. What's your repo called? Introduction. Yeah, there's examples for that. So plan a sprint zero where you're setting up this stuff. Just because we're doing most of the DevOps for you now, you still should be planning for this stuff. Do consider all your workflows, not just Sitecore workflows, but how your front end developers are going to work with your back-end developers and the marketers, right? This is something you have to talk through, communicate. Do look at the examples. Do look at the XM Cloud introduction repository. There are lots of things that I would do there. Don't wait until your last week before you launch to publish to prod. That's a really bad idea. Don't wait until the last week to promote code to prod. Instead, deploy often. Instead, publish often. Instead, get your site running and then switch DNS. Or don't make it available to the world. Do something like that, right? Side by side. or reverse proxy. People mentioned that yesterday. Do consider a go live plan. All right. I think this is my last one. We've come a long way, and we have a long way to go. As I said in the beginning, developer experience and productivity is a priority for us. I want to come back to what I was talking about in the very, very beginning. I am not the only architect on XM Cloud. I stand on the shoulders of giants. There's so many amazing developers that have contributed in the community. There's so many architects, engineers, developers, product people all over Sitecore. So much has been done, and it's an honor to be able to work with all of you guys. That actually comes from a quote by Isaac Newton. If I have seen further, it is by standing on the shoulders of giants. Questions? I don't think my time is up. It just went to 0 right there. Do we have time to go? We're actually over time now. So, a couple of minutes? Go ahead. Do we have a microphone?
That we are on the journey with the Sitecore. So we are with the journey with Sitecore from the day when XSLT was there, then waveforms, then MVC, and with the recent year it's a JSS with React and Next.js. Now the question here is that in all these years, one thing is common is the .NET framework, on the top of which this product is built. Now Microsoft already announced that we are using .NET Framework 4.8, which is going to be dying some year. So do you have some plan in a long-term year where you have the plan that how to move the Sitecore product itself from the .NET Framework?
Yep, so I'm probably going to say this wrong, but .NET 4.8, whatever minor patch revision, is it on long-term support still? It's not out of support yet. Someday it will be. So will 10.3 eventually go out of support, right? In however many years. Let me say this. For XM Cloud, I would recommend you focus on your front ends. Let me say it that way. That's all I'm going to say. So, yeah. It's probably not the answer you want, but that's the answer I'm going to give.
No problem. Thank you.
Hello. As we know that XM Cloud is a SaaS service, so how we can make compliant any client requirement with the XM Cloud? Like if we consider any US client and California has some other rules, and other Europe region has some other rules, how we can make a XM Cloud instance as per the client requirement?
How do you make it compliant?
Yes.
Or compliant like ISO compliance or
no,
HIPAA
like the GDPR, like we have in GDPR. And the same thing if you want to implement on XM instance, how we can make them? Because some data will be stored, might be chance some PI data is getting stored in the XM.
Let's talk afterwards. I'm not sure how to answer that. Sorry. I think we have time for one more. Other than that, I'm going to leave cards up in front if you guys want to talk. Those are my contact info. I'm going to have cards, but yeah, one more question because we're over time.
Hey, Andy. Thanks for the session. Here.
He's talking. Oh.
Okay, fine. So a moment ago, you said like for XM code, concentrate on front end, right? So what does it mean? You mean that you are going to kill .NET? We are in .NET, right? .NET is in our blood for decades, right? So what is the plan for us, right? I accept that we have to concentrate on front end, JavaScript, that's the future. But what we are going to do. So no, I'm just hear your thoughts on what is the plan.
I want you all to focus on the front end so that you can Yeah, I want you to, let me just explain. I want you to focus on the front end so that you can integrate with other products and fit into this composable world. It'll allow you to move faster. We're not killing anything. And I'm going to leave it at that. So, yep. All right. Here are my cards. If anybody wants some, here you go. Thank you very much.
Hello.
Yeah, I encourage you, seriously, call me. I think I have my cell phone on there. Don't call my cell phone. Email me. We want to know what you want, right? I asked for you guys to fill out that poll so that we can, I'm going to bring that to product, right? And if you guys have problems or need help, we are here to help. So we're monitoring Slack. We're looking at tickets. We're trying to help out. I will reach out to people directly. Who here in the audience have I actually called directly? Maybe nobody in the audience. Oh, Al, sure. You guys. Yeah, but yeah, there are people. We will reach out and help you. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thanks, Andy.